The night the hospital corridor went quiet enough to hear a heart breaking, a tired janitor stood frozen with a mop in his hands, watching a woman try and fail to take a single step. The fluorescent lights hummed like they always did, indifferent to pain, but something in that moment felt heavy, like destiny had leaned in to listen. He did not know her name. He did not know her story. He only knew the way her knees buckled, the way hope flickered and nearly went out, and how the world often looks away when someone needs help most. Before the story unfolds. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of ordinary people, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Stories. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that need them. The janitor's name was Daniel Reyes, and life had taught him how to be invisible. He worked the late shift at St. Augustine Medical Center, scrubbing floors that gleamed for everyone except him, emptying trash cans that overflowed with other people's worries. At 37, he was a single father to an 8-year-old boy named Mateo, a child with curious eyes and a laugh that could turn exhaustion into something bearable. Daniel measured time in lunches packed before dawn and bedtime stories whispered after double shifts. He measured success not in promotions, but in whether Mateo fell asleep feeling safe. Daniel had once dreamed of becoming a physical therapist. Years earlier, when his wife Sophia was alive, they had planned it together, believing in a future built on steady hands and helping others heal. Then came the car accident on a rain-slicked road, the suddenness of loss, the way grief hollowed him out and left responsibilities heavier than ever. School turned into bills. Dreams turned into survival. The hospital job came with health insurance and predictable hours, and Daniel learned to make peace with the quiet dignity of honest work. That night, the woman struggling to walk was named Eleanor Whitmore, though Daniel would not learn that until much later. She was in her early 40s, her posture once confident but now bent by pain and frustration. A spinal injury from a fall months earlier had left her learning to trust her body again. Rehabilitation had been slow, humiliating, and expensive. What the charts did not show was the deeper wound, the loss of independence that gnawed at her more than the pain ever could. She had stayed late after therapy, refusing to quit for the day, pushing herself long after the therapists had gone home. When her legs gave way, Eleanor grabbed the cold handrail and fought back tears, embarrassed by the echo of her own breathing in an empty hall. She had built a life on competence, on control, and now she felt reduced to a problem no one wanted to see. Daniel watched from a distance, torn between the rules that told him to stay in his lane and the instinct that had guided him through fatherhood and loss. He knew what it meant to feel alone in a place full of people. He set them up aside, heart pounding, and approached with a gentleness that came from years of helping a child learn to ride a bike after too many falls. He did not rush. He did not speak. He simply offered his arm, steady and patient, as if the corridor itself had softened around them. Eleanor hesitated, pride warring with need, then rested her weight against him. The first step was shaky, the second slower, but the third came with a breath she did not know she was holding. They moved like that, one careful step at a time, the janitor and the woman who refused to give up. The corridor seemed longer than usual, each light a small victory past. Daniel felt the tremor in her arm, the fear disguised as determination. He adjusted his pace, matching hers, offering balance without taking control. In that simple act, something shifted for both of them. For Eleanor, it was the realization that help did not have to steal dignity. For Daniel, it was the return of a purpose he thought he had buried with his dreams. Over the following weeks, their paths crossed again and again, always quietly, always without spectacle. Daniel learned the rhythms of Eleanor's therapy schedule and timed his cleaning to be nearby when sessions ended. He never overstepped, never asked questions that pried. He simply showed up when she needed a steady presence. Eleanor began to notice the calluses on his hands, the careful way he folded discarded blankets, the photo of a smiling boy taped inside his supply cart. She noticed, too, how her steps grew surer, how the corridor no longer felt like an enemy. What Daniel did not know was that Eleanor had once been a philanthropist with a reputation for changing lives. Before her injury, she chaired a foundation that funded medical research and community health initiatives. The accident had shrunk her world to therapy rooms and insurance paperwork, leaving her feeling disconnected from the impact she once made. Watching Daniel work with humility and kindness rekindled something inside her. She began to see the hospital not as a place of loss, but as a place full of unsung heroes. One evening, as rain streaked the windows and thunder rolled outside, Eleanor completed a lap of the corridor without stopping. The victory was small to anyone else, monumental to her. Daniel stood nearby, pretending to wipe a spotless wall, pride warming his chest. He thought of Matteo, of teaching him resilience by example, of showing him that kindness did not require recognition. He thought of Sophia and the life they had imagined, and for the first time in years, the memory did not crush him. The change came quietly, like most meaningful things do. Eleanor began asking the hospital administration about staff support programs. She asked about turnover, about wages, about the people who worked after hours to keep the place running. She listened in a way she had not listened before, informed by the vulnerability she had lived. When she returned home after being cleared to continue therapy as an outpatient, she did not forget the janitor who helped her walk when she thought she could not. Months later, Daniel was called into an office he had never been invited into before. He wore his cleanest uniform, anxiety buzzing in his chest. The administrator spoke of a new initiative, a partnership with a private foundation to create scholarships for hospital staff seeking education in healthcare fields. The words washed over him until one sentence landed like a lifeline. Daniel Reyes had been nominated for full sponsorship to pursue physical therapy training, with flexible hours and childcare support included. He walked out of the office stunned, hands shaking, thinking of Matteo and the future that suddenly felt possible again. He thought of the corridor, of the first step Eleanor had taken, leaning on his arm. That night, when he tucked Matteo into bed, he told him that sometimes helping someone else walk could change your own path. Matteo smiled sleepily, not fully understanding, but feeling the hope in his father's voice. Daniel's journey was not easy. He studied after shifts, memorized anatomy with coffee-stained notes, learned to believe he belonged in classrooms he once thought were closed to him. Eleanor followed his progress from a respectful distance, offering mentorship through the foundation without seeking credit. She returned to the hospital as a volunteer advocate, walking the same corridors with a steady gait and a deeper compassion. Years later, Daniel stood in a therapy room, guiding a patient through their first unsteady steps. His hands were sure, his voice calm, his presence grounding. On a shelf behind him sat a framed photo of Matteo at graduation, a reminder of why he never stopped believing. Down the hall, Eleanor visited patients, listening, encouraging, reminding them that setbacks were not endings. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment now to like this video. Share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Kindness. Your engagement keeps these true-to-life moments of humanity alive and reaching those who need them most. And before we end, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with a time when a small act of kindness changed your life, or when you saw someone offer help without being asked. Your stories matter, and they inspire others more than you know. The corridor at St. Augustine still hums under fluorescent lights, still witnesses pain and healing in equal measure. But somewhere between the mop and the outstretched arm, between pride and vulnerability, two lives were rewritten. A single dad janitor offered to help a woman walk, and in doing so, he reminded us all that the smallest steps, taken together, can change everything.